So on Zoom, you do have to flip the video. So you do that. A little up arrow there.
How come I'm the only one here? Are we sure we did this right?
It's recording right now. So it won't hit you.
Hello, Scott. Can you hear me?
Hey, Colonel Felt, how are you?
Living the dream.
That is quite the mask there. It's sort of Darth Vader-ish.
Exactly. It's the Space Force mask. It's a
I'm
Space
just,
Force mask.
yeah, that is cool. Did they send you a big box of those for your troops or what?
They did not. There's no standard, so you can buy whatever you want.
Oh,
As long
okay.
as it's conservative. So
So we should also get.
Well, yeah, I look forward to seeing more of those. I'm just joining in to do a comm check on this one. I've got another panel at 11:15. I just wanted to see how this was working. It looks like it's working okay so far.
isn't that the panel? Oh, at 11:15. Okay.
Yeah, so Casey's got yours here at 10:15, and then there's another one at 11:15.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't see Casey yet, but hopefully she'll be here soon.
Yeah, I'm sure she will, and if not, I'll text her. I think they wanted everyone to join 10 minutes early, so I would assume she's probably going to be jumping on in the next 5 minutes or so.
I'm extra early. Okay. Well, nice to see you.
Did you have? Are you going to share any slides?
Yeah, I have some slides, and I've got my expert here to figure out how to present them. I just have to be given the power to do so.
I think they already gave you the power, and if there's technical difficulties, there might be a way, if you wanted to email them, we could have some of the IT folks.
I did email them to the list of people too.
Oh, great. Then you should be good.
Justin, can you come here and try to present the slides? They're on the desktop. And Scott can tell us if he sees them.
Yeah, I will be happy to. Sometimes I forget which teleconferencing system I'm using, and they're all slightly different. So
I know it's. I don't have Adobe installed. Yeah, we'll have to make something else work. How do you share slides?
it should just be the green button on the bottom. It says share screen. And then you'll have to select whatever window you want. And if your slides are up on your desktop, just select that window.
So the thing with this PDF reader is it opens up full screen automatically.
Oh, can we use a different PDF viewer?
I think I could just download Adobe, the free version.
All right.
There's Casey. We're doing it some testing, Casey. I came on to see if we could.
Or increase the volume.
Colonel Felt's gonna try to share his screen real quick.
A role in state elections, because we don't, people like to say, oh, Donald Trump lost the popular vote in 2016. There is no popular vote. There's no such thing as a national popular vote for president because we don't have a national election. If you're going to let
you have your radio on,
your democracy add up everybody in the country, divide it by 2, and see who has the most votes.
Oh, is that me?
That
might be you.
I don't have.
Search for free.
I wanted to break away from this election for like 2 hours. So
That's funny. It was like, what do you have that on, Scott?
it wasn't me. Was it you? Or
It was my Daily Wire podcast going still.
There it
Well,
is.
yeah, you'll probably hear my washing machine in the background. But that's about it.
Isn't that the one we want?
It's going.
So is this the webinar version of Zoom, or is it the regular participants?
I was talking to Ava, and
Oh, no.
it's not super clear, but I think folks will be able to ask questions if you want to set it up that way.
That happening?
I don't want to install it.
So it's like a regular.
Right. Yeah, you just add the questions in the chat. It doesn't look like it has a Q&A option, which I think that's in the webinar version of Zoom.
Oh, Jeffrey said this is a regular.
Oh, yeah, I don't activate. Thank you.
Yep, chat seems to be working.
That Chrome extension might be okay, but we're not necessary for right now.
All right.
My exec moved to a new job this week, but he nicely volunteered to come back and get this working because I was having some technical challenges here.
Oh, nice.
Justin's amazing.
So he's leaving. He's been pretty good. I know I've worked with
Well,
him.
he's been promoted up to be Dr. Hammett's, deputy TEO for Space S&T Action Group, or TEO Action Group.
Oh, good.
So I selected another exec, but he doesn't start till next week.
Oh, good. So you're kind of exekless for a little bit.
I'm kind of exekless, and I've been stumbling by okay, but for this briefing, I thought it would be nice, and he volunteered to come over. So.
Right, right. I think you're great at this, so you could do it with or half of your brain tied behind your back.
Oh, I don't know about that, but okay. So Casey, you want me to talk for 10 to 15 minutes? Is that you're gonna talk first and then?
Right, and I'm gonna try and zip through mine because I want to give more time for you and Peter. And
Okay.
then if I think even if you spoke up to 15 minutes, there'd still be time for questions, so we'd be good.
Hey,
Okay.
good morning, Eric and Casey. This is Peter. What order are we going to go in here?
So I'm gonna go first, and then Eric, and then you. And mine is just kind of top level, and there's little pointers in there that I'll talk about how, you'll give more information, or Colonel Felt will give more information. So I'm trying to keep mine to 10 and then turn it over to you guys. So.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
And then Scott is leading the space launch in the new space era after this. And that's where we have, the crossbow folks and some others. I think that'll be good. And Spaceport America, and there's Alice. I can't remember.
Alice, looks like you're set up in a lawn chair right outside your facility there. How's the weather?
I wish I was actually there. I'm not today. We were very, very busy yesterday. I don't know if you saw, but we had a flyover Las Cruces and TRC from White Knight 2 yesterday. So there was 2 test flights out there.
Very cool.
Yay.
It was very cool. And we got lots of good response from the community when they got to see the planes fly over.
It went over TRC and Las Cruces, right?
Yeah, and Elephant Butte. We managed to get all 3 of the sort of larger cities in the area, which is good.
Cool. That's really cool. It's about to happen. So Ava, I think for us to share, we need to be hosts or co-hosts, right?
All right. So see if we can share our screen just as.
I'm distracted by Kai's video at the moment. Can you see the spaceship video that's playing?
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I see the slides.
You see my slides?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right, good. So we will stop sharing until it's our turn then.
Well, let's make sure. How do you do full screen view?
You just go to the upper right.
Oh, full screen.
I still see your slides.
Okay, we just are still testing. Okay, we will.
Oh, okay.
Here, stop share and let Spaceport share their video. I want to see your video.
Spaceport's not speaking in this panel. So this panel will just
okay.
have myself with New Space New Mexico,
Okay.
you, Colonel Felt for Space Force and AFRL, and then
Okay.
Peter Wagner for.
That's cool. Alice, did you say that the space did it fly? The plane fly already?
So we had 2 test flights yesterday, which are always held a couple of weeks ahead of the powered flights for practice.
Oh,
I think
okay.
I'm allowed to say that out loud.
Okay,
But they managed to fly them over the cities in this area. So they flew over Elephant Butte, TLC, and Las Cruces.
Oh, how exciting!
It had the Eve, right? What do they call the
Yes,
main?
VMS Eve is the name of the mothership, or White Knight 2, as most people know it as. It's the carrier craft. So they were doing a series of tests and some maneuvers, and yeah, it was quite special to see it. I managed to climb up a mountain in Las Cruces with my kids to watch it fly over. They were really excited and were cheering at it and whooping at it and waving to the pilots as they flew over the mountain. So it's pretty cool.
Okay, so the White Knight 2 is the actual rocket. It was on it. It just didn't get dropped, right?
No rocket attached to it. It was just the carrier plane. So the Spaceship 2, so it's White Knight 2 is the twin fusiliers aircraft, and normally Spaceship 2 would sit in between
Right.
2 of them. But they have to do some maneuvers and testing for FAA ahead of any flight. So it just happened to be that we managed to get the flight paths with the cities.
But don't they call the flight, with the holder of the Spaceship 2?
Yeah, they call it the mothership.
The mothership, right?
Yes, like she's named Eve after Richard's mother, Eve.
But then you're saying White Knight 2, so it was a different one?
No, that's the same thing. It's sometimes known as White Knight 2. It's sometimes known as VMS Eve. I think it really depends. White Knight 2 is the name of the vehicle, the mothership. But they've named this particular vehicle VMS Eve, and they are building multiple motherships, and there will be multiple spacecraft. So at the moment, the spacecraft is Unity, but they are working on Artie and Etta, which hopefully will be rolled out by the end of the year.
Which are the grandkids' names, right?
Yeah, Richard Branson's twin grandchildren.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so I was, Jason was gonna join me on this panel, but they were not allowed to have media. So I'm gonna just kind of try and talk about that, even though, the next panel, you'll talk about it further, so.
Sure.
So yay. I guess what time are we at?
Real quick, guys, looks like everything, I'm Anastasia or Michaela, but it looks like everything is working for you guys with Zoom and sharing screens and everything.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and drop off, but if you guys have any trouble during the session or anything like that, feel free to email me and let me know, and I'll jump on and see what we need to do to get things fixed. But
okay,
like
so
it's all set for you guys.
So you're not going to be on here. Is there anyone else in here that would be supporting?
I'm not. I still have to do like UNM stuff. So basically, what my role is to just make sure everything's good to go. Working with Zoom at the start of the session. Looks like you guys got screen sharing under control and everything like that. Audio is good, video is good. So pretty much that's what I do. But like I said, if you guys have any issues or anything like that, I'll be monitoring my inbox, and I'll check in here in a little bit once everything's started, just to be sure that everything's still going well. And then, yeah,
Okay.
alrighty,
Great. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Michaela.
of course.
And hi, everybody. I'm Mia Peterson. I'm a senior HR manager for rural sourcing here in Albuquerque, and I'll be doing introductions. And I'm super excited. I just love space. I love everything about space. I would love to go to space when I was a kid, and I learned astronauts had to have perfect vision. I was really bummed because, you know, yep, I know. Alice is like, yep, sporting the glasses too. So that'll change with commercial space flight. I can only hope that I can afford it someday. Maybe one of my kids will strike it big and get me a ticket. And like one of my 4 kids, I'm like, one of them's
I
got to
tell
pull
my
through.
kids that on a daily basis, Mia. Your job is to become rich because mummy didn't manage it, and you can buy mummy a flight.
Yes. Yeah, I know. People are like, are your kids first generation? Because you have really high expectations for them. I'm like, I just really want to, I just one of them just come through. So great. So we'll give it like another minute, and then we'll kind of introduce everybody.
Okay.
A mug or a bowl with a handle? What are we referring to?
It's mine. It's probably about the size of a bowl, to be honest with you. I'm a big tea drinker, so I like to have a large mug, and it is rather apt because it's my NASA one today.
Yay.
That's great.
We need to get
Okay.
you a new Space New Mexico mug or pint.
I want one of those pint glasses for the T5s, Casey, so that when we do the T5s, I can fill it up for you.
Yeah, they've been popular.
I bet.
Yeah, Casey,
All
I
right,
don't have my
well,
T5 mug.
I know. Well, so I'm supposed to meet Matt Fetro, and then he's supposed to get it too. But I'm meeting with Kelly Hammett tomorrow, so I'm gonna just take him since I haven't seen Matt Fetro. So you'll see it by tomorrow.
Thank you.
I know, and I have to get it to my advisory board members, Peter, so you'll be getting them also.
all right. Well, we'll go ahead and kick off. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Space Opportunity in New Mexico and the Nation session in the New Mexico Tech Council experienceIT virtual conference. Today, it's a real privilege to be hearing from 3 very special individuals. First, Casey Angelada Dorad. I hope I got your name right. If not, please correct me. Okay, cool. CEO of New Space, New Mexico. We'll also be hearing from Colonel Eric Felt, the director of the Air Force Research Lab here in New Mexico, and Dr. Peter Wedner, CTO of Black Sky Incorporated. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you to our speakers. Please feel free to join in the discussion and chime in chat. And now I will turn it over to our presenters.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'll get started. I just give you a little bit of information about myself. So I have started with, I am an engineer from UNM, Lobo, woof, 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 and native New Mexican. So I really care about our New Mexico industries and workforce, and basically the reasoning behind starting New Space New Mexico. And you'll hear a tiny bit more about it, but we started New Space New Mexico to grow the space industry from New Mexico for the nation. And we're just really happy to share about, some new opportunities and how we feel New Mexico is positioned to lead. So I'm going to share just a few slides, and then we'll get to our folks. I think I always take a little second here. Okay, so let me tell you a little, just a little bit about the name, how we've selected. Let's see, is it doing a slide share? So New Space New Mexico, what we try and say is first New Mexico. You know, New Mexico is a leader in the first space age. We had, I mean, the very first picture of Earth from space was taken from a V2 rocket out of White Sands from New Mexico. We have, you know, the last living astronaut that stepped on the moon with Harrison Schmitt. And we just have many, many more history, much more history in being a leader in space in that first space age. But we're now in what we call a new space age. And with the lower cost of launch and new applications, space is just booming. And I think you're hopefully will be able to get a real good feel for that today. My background is I started with the Air Force, so I would have, Colonel Felt would have been my my director if I was still with the Air Force Research Lab. But I started out as an engineer working on satellite electronic systems, had a time at NASA, later led the partnerships with industry, academia, and government. And so a few years ago is where I decided to sort of jump out and try and do that, work these partnerships and try and do things for our New Mexico industries and workforce from the outside. And so we've gotten a lot of support and we're having a lot of fun, and we'll tell you a little more about it. So I just want to talk about the opportunity. It's a huge opportunity. The global space economy is expected to grow. I have 8x in 20 years, 8 times in 20 years, but I put a note down below. There's a number of financial institutions that have estimated it to grow 123%, 165%, and even Bank of America says 551% over the next 20 to 25 years. The Space Foundation just came out with a report in October talking about the commercial space revenue, which is 80% of that global space economy, that it was 337 billion in 2019 and just had a almost 100% increase from the last 10 years. So this, you know, Peter Wagner is going to talk about this a little more, and it's just really exciting, but it just really reflects the strength and enduring growth that of this global space economy. And it's just good news for investors, for entrepreneurs, for tech providers, consumers. There's just opportunities in multiple sectors in that global space economy. And that's in satellite manufacturing, ground station and equipment, and even Earth observing satellites. And like I said, Peter Wagner, Dr. Wagner will be going through a little bit more. Just to talk a little bit about New Mexico. So many people didn't realize that we have a lot of space companies in New Mexico. When we started out with New Space New Mexico, one of the first things was to gather, like, well, who is even working in space? What companies are even working in space in New Mexico? And most people would think of the, you know, the big guys like Virgin Galactic, Raytheon, Boeing, Northrop Grumman. But there are a lot of really exciting small and medium space companies. And so New Space New Mexico has logged over 100 space companies in New Mexico, and we're looking at how we help those companies grow and attract more companies to come here, because it's going on in New Mexico and it's going to keep going on in New Mexico. So we want that center of excellence to be here. So another key thing is where we look at, we have this awesome sort of R&D infrastructure already here, and that we can really leverage to help grow and attract that space, that commercial space industry. Of course, you all know the Spaceport America, where we're hoping to have our first space flight coming up pretty soon, our first commercial space travel coming pretty soon. I have a couple notes on that coming up. We've had the Air Force organizations that have been thought leaders in this new space age, and are now 3 of our space organizations at Kirtland are now considered part of the Space Force. And you're going to hear a little bit more about that from Colonel Eric Felt. It's exciting times with that. We also have just this amazing intellectual capital with our DOE labs, with our universities, with the White Sands Missile Range, with the NASA White Sands Test Facility. We have so much here in New Mexico, and we just need to pull it together and leverage this infrastructure. I wanted to say a quick note about my Virgin Galactic friends. Were supposed to join us on this panel, but they are having, they weren't able to. So I thought I would just put up a note, and Alice just was informing us from Spaceport that Virgin Galactic's this first space flight is supposed to happen this fall. That's this fall. We're in fall right now, so it's coming soon. And the White Knight 2, which is the mothership Eve, was flying, did a flyover yesterday, which Alice was saying her and her kids went and hiked in the mountains and was able to see it. But they flew over Las Cruces, Elephant Butte, and TRC, and it must have been a really exciting sight. So things are happening here that that we're just really excited about. I wanted to say just a little bit about
Alice Cruz is here.
Yes, she's here, but
Sorry.
oh, sorry. Anyways, just a quick note about New Space New Mexico. We're really trying to cultivate a collaborative and innovation-driven new space ecosystem, just to break down walls and be that universal voice and pull together all those organizations to where we could just really leverage what we have here to build that space industry. Some things we're looking at doing is setting up an innovation and commercialization hub to facilitate that collaboration with industry, government, and our academic partners. We try to do our space stakeholder collaborations. We've established a new space alliance. You can get to it from our website, and you'll see our website in a second. We're figuring out how to set up connections, like how do we connect, set up ways where companies can get connected to other businesses, to workforce, to labs and equipment that they may need, and just also setting up collaboration workspaces, whether it's a workspace or a lab space. Setting up an industry SAT program, like how can we put together funding and opportunities to really help these companies get from that kind of that idea, maybe even they've gone through SBIR or some of the accelerators, but how do we just really help them connect to that consumer or that funder for long-time financial stability. And so anyways, we're just looking at how do we develop that workforce that will help those companies. We always say that the companies to be successful, need that initial investment. They need the intellectual capital to get going, and then they need the consumer at the end of it, and they need the workforce. So New Space New Mexico is kind of working in all areas of that. So you could get to our website, newspacenm.org. And with that, I will stop sharing and turn it over to our other 2 speakers. First, Colonel Eric Felt, who will speak about the exciting times with the Space Force. And then Peter Wagner after that will discuss this new space industry and what the great things going on. So thank you very much. Colonel Eric Felt, please.
Thank you, Casey, and good morning, New Mexico and space enthusiasts. I'm thrilled to be here with you this morning and talk a little bit about the Air Force Research Lab and what an exciting time it is to be working in the space enterprise, and what an exciting time it is for New Mexico. We often talk about how this is the most exciting time to be working in the space enterprise since the 1960s. And there's a lot of similarities between now and the 1960s, in some of them being that the moon is playing a big role, others being that there's lots of discovery going on. But there's also some differences between now and the first space race. One of the differences is that this one is being driven by commercial and economic interests rather than by the federal government interests driving it. And so that creates a lot of opportunities for us in New Mexico and for those of us working in the space business. And some of them are shown here. You know, you've got an incredible number of companies, small and large, that are making great innovations in space. They're building out proliferated low Earth orbit constellations. There's all kinds of technology work on the components of satellites. There's lunar exploration that is being privately led. It's really quite amazing. And the complexity of what we're doing up there is also increasing by exponential orders. If you just look at the number of objects that are in space, the number of objects that as the Space Force, we have to track and keep and be aware of what's going on up there, increasing by a factor of 10 or to 100, and then in terms of the volume that we have to search, if you go out to the moon, it's increasing by a factor of 1,000. So there's lots of challenges. And that's part of what makes it so exciting to be doing this right now in the second space age, as we call it. In AFRL, the way we've tried to tackle this is to divide ourselves up into 7 different mission areas. And so I have a mission lead in each of these areas, and the mission lead's job is to make sure that we are investing and pursuing the right technology in each of these mission areas to make sure that we can maintain our competitive advantage over China and Russia and the others who are threatening our space capabilities, and so that we can deter a conflict in space. And so we are laser focused in each of these areas on getting to that key technology advantage. And so of course that creates opportunities on the commercial side of things. And we are particularly interested and have been particularly successful in dual use technologies. So things that are going to help the Space Force, but also have great commercial viability. Because again, remember, the commercial interests are what's driving this second space age. So one of my strategies is to work with those commercial activities that are innovating at a much faster pace than the government could do on our own, and work together with those in public-private partnerships and other unique and innovative business arrangements so that we can both benefit from the technology advances that are occurring. So on the slide, I've got a few of the key technology areas in each of those 7 mission areas in which we are currently investing that we think are important, but there's many more. And the important thing is, the way I like to think of it is, I want to have, China beating PNT. I want to have China beating missile warning. I want to have China beating space control applications. In each of these areas, I'm just looking for ways that we can maintain our technology edge against our competitors so that, again, we can deter conflict from a position of strength. So that's my mission, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing in each of these areas, and why that creates opportunities for companies in New Mexico and across the United States to work with us while they are pursuing their commercial goals in these tech areas. To highlight some of the challenges, the old simplistic view of space was, well, you have some satellites in low Earth orbit, some in medium Earth orbit, and some in geosynchronous Earth orbit. We are seeing now a lot of interest in using other orbits beyond the 3 traditional ones, because there's lots of benefits to these. All the way from very low Earth orbit, where you have to be constantly propulsing yourself to stay up there. That's very interesting because you're closer to the Earth, and that gives you advantages in terms of being able to get higher resolution imagery. And but there's challenges to operating in that regime. LEO's becoming super congested in terms of the number of satellites that are up there, with all these proliferated low Earth orbit constellations enabled by SpaceX and the other companies that have caused the cost of launch to drop by 80% or more. MEO and GEO still traditionally useful orbits for the same reasons that they always were, but now we're interested in going above GEO all the way out to the cislunar environment, because we have competitors that are acting in that domain, and we need to be aware of what they're doing. We have commercial interests that are acting in that domain, and one of the missions of the Space Force will be to protect and defend the space lines of commerce out in that area. So from a technology side, I need to start working on how we're going to do that. And that's been one of our major efforts at Air Force Research Lab. In fact, my next flight experiment is the Cislunar Highway Patrol System out there at the moon to try to maintain some situational awareness of what's going on out there. There's a lot of opportunities for partnerships, not only within New Mexico and the US, but with our partner nations. For example, the Microsat Military Utility study or demonstration was a 9-nation project agreement where we took all of the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance assets commercially available and from allies, aggregate all those together to see if we can maintain persistent surveillance of certain points on the ground during exercises, and it turns out we can, and that it's very useful because there are now so many satellites up there that it's actually possible to have much more persistence than we had before. But we found some challenges and some gaps in terms of the timeliness of the information, and so that's an opportunity for AFRL to help with that by establishing some standards that will bring everybody to all these different parties together. Somebody has an open mic, but I will press on with after MSMU. The last slide I wanted to share with you this morning, and I hope we have some time for questions too, is the results of our strategic planning process. So we went through a whole process where we looked at, okay, what are the things that we could do in space? How useful would those be versus where we are right now? And we identified these 13 things that are shown on this slide as areas in which we should be doing more than we currently are. So these are areas of underinvestment in space. Now, the government doesn't have any, the Space Force and the Air Force do not have any more money that they are going to put into space S&T, but the venture capitalists and the commercial investments do. So I show this list as these are opportunities that we hope we will be able to find some dual use technology where there is private capital that's interested in investing in these challenges, that we can work with them through innovative arrangements such as CRADAs, where you can come and use our test facilities and we can share information and things like that. So we can work, I hope we can work together on these 13 technology areas at least as ways to mature technology quickly and maintain our competitive advantage and out innovate our competitors. And if we can do that, then this will continue to be the great second space age, and we'll continue to have great opportunities for New Mexico, our nation, and our world in space. I'm incredibly excited about it, and I know many of you are too. And so that's why I appreciate the opportunity to comment to you this morning and then to engage in some questions with you later. So thanks for this opportunity, Casey. Over.
Thank you, Colonel Felt. Always exciting to hear what's going on with the Air Force Research Lab in space, and I think it's exciting times. So now we have Peter Wagner from Black Sky, and Peter's involved with a number of space companies, and hopefully he'll tell you about it. But we're just really honored to have him here in New Mexico. He's also a New Space New Mexico Advisory Board Chair, so happy to have you here, Peter. Take it over.
Well, good morning, Casey, and good morning, New Mexico and the world, I guess. And good morning, Colonel Felt. It's good to see friends here this morning. I wanted to let me see if I can get my slide share sorted out here. I'm giving away the conclusions at the end. Okay, can you see this? Okay, Casey.
Yep, I can.
Okay, very good. Well, the first thing I wanted to talk about, and Colonel Felt really kind of kicked this off in his discussion about the future of space commerce. And so I wanted to start that discussion with a look at what space commerce looks like today. The graphic you see on the right was a graphic put together by a consulting firm, Bryce Space and Technology, that really summarized, this was a 2015 view, but it looks much the same today, the global space economy and how it breaks down between the different sectors. I'll let you stare at this a minute. I won't go through all the details. But what you see here is that this is about a $350 billion global business line. And it splits out between a lot of different sectors, from things like direct-to-home television.
Yeah, they just had that colonel from the AFRL Research Labs talk about all the stuff they're doing. So I was just trying to find if there's some, because these are all internship areas, right, for Michelangelo.
Mike,
I know the director.
Yolanda,
I think you got a hot mic.
Sorry, Peter. Can you all please do, except for Peter?
All right, very good. Well, thank you. So about a $350 billion global space economy today. And the other thing that I wanted to point out that I think is really exciting, Casey talked about the emergence of Virgin Galactic and space tourism as a business line. But one of the things that's most exciting to me about this is that this is now publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange, and you as a private investor can buy shares in this company. And this is really the emergence of the consumer being able to participate in a real way in these emerging space companies. There's also on the NASDAQ a space traded fund that trades under the designator UFO. That's a broad-based space fund. So these are emerging businesses. This is the state of the global space economy today. Casey mentioned my own company, Black Sky. We participate in the geospatial intelligence sector of this economy. This is a snapshot of our business today. What we do is we take data from satellite systems, we fuse it with third-party sensors, things like IoT data, RF data, even cell phone metadata, and news and social media data. And we use AI and machine learning tools to extract literally millions of data sets a day, fuse that together, extract the critical information, and then provide to our customers.
Excuse me.
Again, I think somebody's got a hot mic, please.
I am not the host, so I can't mute everybody. Can you all please mute?
Okay, I'm just going to press on through. This is I wanted to highlight this picture. This was taken from a pair of satellites that we launched with SpaceX back in August. This is an image over Atlanta that was taken 58 hours after that satellite was launched. And this is the kind of data that we provide into the commercial remote sensing industry today, and are building a system that will allow consumers to get access to this broad stream of remote sensing data from space. So there's a quick look at what the space economy looks like today, but where's it going tomorrow? And Casey mentioned this study, in fact, earlier, that Morgan Stanley has estimated that the space economy in 2040 will be worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 trillion, up from, again, what we said, about $350 billion today. They point out that some of the most near-term opportunities are probably in the satellite broadband internet market. And if you've been tracking this industry for a while, you know that SpaceX is launching a large constellation of satellites, could be anywhere between 4,000 and 12,000 satellites, into low Earth orbit that will give you broadband access direct to your home. Forbes just announced a week ago that initial trials are now starting, mostly in northern latitudes, northern part of the United States and Canada, at about $99 a month for very high speed, 100 megabit per second direct to home internet. The picture on the upper right is actually an image of those satellites, the train of satellites that SpaceX has put up, viewable from the ground, those satellites in orbit today. So emerging broadband internet market is going to be a big growing area, but what's really driving this $1 trillion kind of economic return? And one of the things that people look at is the ability to mine asteroids. And this was a chart that was put together that really summarizes some of the opportunities that are available in asteroid mining and deep space commerce. This was done by Business Insider. You can see over here on the left that there are about 1,500 asteroids that are close enough to Earth that from an energy perspective, they're actually easier to reach than is the moon itself. You can see that there are about 1,000 asteroids discovered every year. And some of these asteroids are very rich in metals that are in somewhat limited supply on the Earth, things like platinum. There are asteroids that have been discovered that would contain more platinum than has been mined off the Earth in all of human history. So if you think this is really far-fetched, I'd like to point out that the picture on the upper left is a picture of the OSIRIS-REx mission that is right now sitting about 330 million kilometers from the surface of the Earth on the surface of the asteroid Bennu. And that little probe just collected about 60 grams of material from the surface of Bennu. And in September of 2023, we'll return that sample to the surface of the Earth, where scientists can really understand the composition of that asteroid and also demonstrate the ability to do exactly this kind of asteroid mining that we were just talking about. Now, if you really want to look out at where this could go in the not too distant future, the asteroid Psyche, asteroid 16 Psyche, has been estimated to house about $10 quintillion worth of nickel and iron. Again, more than has ever been mined off the surface of the Earth itself. And NASA is planning to launch a probe to this asteroid in 2022 that will get there in about 2026 and give us the same kind of insight into this asteroid that we're getting today from Bennu and OSIRIS-REx. So where's the global space economy going to go in 2040? Is it really going to be $1 trillion industry? What's that industry going to look like? I think really the sky is not the limit here. And New Space New Mexico and the companies that are based in New Mexico are part of this and building the opportunities to really grow this industry for all of us in the future. So with that, Casey, I'll turn it back over to you.
Casey, it looks like you're muted.
Thanks. Just put questions in the chat for you all for these folks, but that was really interesting. Peter, what's quintillion is? I guess it might be a dumb question, but that's a lot of money, right?
That's a lot of money, Casey, and I'll take 1% of that and be just quite content.
I'll even take 0.001, right? I think, let's see, when mining asteroids, how is the ownership determined? First one that gets there? How, I mean, are there any kind of ideas? I know we just had a workshop where they talked about resource mining and I think some of that was brought up, but do you know what the conclusions were, Peter?
You know, Casey, I'm not a space policy expert, so I'll defer to those maybe in the audience who are. My understanding is that this is really guided by a couple things. One was the Outer Space Treaty signed way back in the early 1960s, I believe, that basically says space is free for all to use. And then most recently, there has been a lot of movement within the United Nations Committee on Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, COPIUS, to look into this issue, to explore the resources and ownership rights. The United States has moved in the last couple of years in this area to put some policy in place that basically, as I understand it, is a first come, first owned kind of policy. But a lot of that's really still being worked out in the international circles.
Do you have anything to add, Colonel Felt?
The only thing I would add is that, yes, the resources of space are there for anyone to use and take home. So you can't claim an asteroid and you can't claim the moon, but if you go there and you collect those resources, then they do belong to you. And the Artemis Accords, NASA really has the lead on this for now, and the Artemis Accords that they're putting in place as these bilateral agreements with other nations talk about private property rights in space and reaffirm that belief that yes, you are allowed, private companies are allowed to go and mine these resources. And what we're trying to do on the Space Force side of things is prepare for a day when we might have to protect those U.S. companies from, poachers and pirates and things like that. So I don't know if that is 40 years away or 4 years away, but we are trying to develop the needed technology to maintain space domain awareness about what's happening up there so that we can be aware of those things. And then eventually, if we need to take action, just like in the sea, to protect U.S. interests.
Commerce, right. So David added quintillion is 1,000 raised to the power of 6. That's a lot of money. lot of Jing. So we did get a question about some of the STEM efforts that New Space New Mexico might be pursuing. And one thing we're trying to do is just really leverage what's already going on. Colonel Felt can tell you about the amazing STEM programs that has been going on with AFRL for, and a lot of it focused on space. So we plan to leverage that, but we also are looking at some partnerships with the state, with the Air Force or Space Force, and industry, hopefully bringing industry to do what we're calling a ThinSat program that can go to middle school students, where a middle school student develops a sort of this small satellite, and we look at possibly doing some really cool demonstrations first at maybe the balloon fiesta, and then secondly at the spaceport, and then finally where they actually get launched. So there's some cool things that we're looking to do as far as STEM goes. Also, New Space New Mexico is really trying to set up what we're calling the connection gateway to be able to have workforce, whether that's students graduating to even professionals that are already in the space industry to kind of sign up with us. And then we're going to be working with our companies on the other side to be able to present good opportunities, and figuring out exactly how to do that connection is underway. So those are a couple things from New Space New Mexico, but I think probably Colonel Felt, you could talk about some of the cool stuff we have going on in STEM with the Air Force Research Lab.
Sure. Well, last year in 2019, we just celebrated the 20th anniversary of the University Nanosat program. So that is a program that AFRL has had to help at the university level increase technical proficiency and satellite and space proficiency among the workforce across the nation. And it's been super successful. And in fact, there's a pretty strong argument that the 5,000 students we've trained through the University Nanosat program over the nation are now some of the leaders in a lot of these private and small startup companies that are leading the nation to success in this second space age. So UNP has been super successful. And by the way, we're having another UNP competition among universities this spring to compete for the next phase of UNP satellites. So at the university level, that's our major initiative. It's been really successful. But the thinking is, hey, maybe we also need to be working on STEM proficiency down at the K through 12 level. And there's been so many recent advances in satellite technology that now it's possible to take a ThinSat, which Casey mentioned, which is like a slice of toast is the size of this component. And you can have that in your classroom. You can program it to do what you want it to do. You can learn how software works in space and how hardware works in space. And then eventually, if you want to launch your ThinSat, there are opportunities to get your ThinSat launched. So this is a way that we hope will enable high schools across the nation, and including in New Mexico, to have some space as part of their curriculum. Within New Mexico, we are sponsoring the prototyping of the ThinSat experiment at a couple of different high schools, and with the hope that the state will pick that up as a statewide initiative to help other high schools who want to be a part of that. And I think that's really important to growing the workforce that we need. If NASA is successful in returning to the moon by 2024, and this came out at our conference that we had there, Casey, in the spring, we're going to need at least 20,000 more STEM workers that we don't currently have in the space business. So I think there's a huge demand for that kind of engineering expertise, and especially ones that will work in the U.S. at U.S. companies, can maintain U.S. clearances. We see a big demand for that, and so we want to encourage that wherever we can as part of our mission at AFRL.
That's cool. Yeah, I was when I was with AFRL, I managed a lot of those STEM programs, and the University Nanosat program has definitely been a stellar program. And I wanted to turn it over to you, Peter, because you're the one that has told me about a number of companies and folks you've met where you see them in those companies.
I have several in my own company. and yeah, it's been, to Colonel Felt's point, really has helped build this industry and the workforce. When we are reviewing resumes of engineers or even beyond engineers, business people, lawyers who we hire in our company, those that have had experience with the University NanoSat program in their college years really rise to the top. We see it over and over, the experience that they get working as a team, understanding the process of going from, you know, napkin sketches on one side to hardware in space on the other side is just invaluable experience for those students, and I recruit them aggressively.
Right. So we're going to keep, like I said, putting some, having the benefit of being part of those programs, getting started, the Air Force Research Lab Scholars Program, some of our K through 12. So having the benefit of managing that and helping to start that, we're looking at New Space New Mexico really partnering with the state, with the Space Force, and with the companies to put some good programs in place. And I don't want to miss that at Spaceport, I think Alice can speak up. They have a really great STEM program too. So we're looking on helping to, you know, just bolster those. But Alice, if you want to speak up about that too, that's great.
Sure, yeah. So this year we kind of started a new program called STEM with Spaceport America. It was an initiative started by the team where we've all produced little at-home videos using at-home resources to engage particularly younger students in craft activities and engineering activities from home, so that they start to learn a little bit more about space, the opportunities at Spaceport, and aerospace in general. We know from experience that most students have an idea by 4th grade if they're going to pursue careers in STEM fields. So we really feel like having something that's really aimed at those younger students and making it accessible. And I feel like arts are normally a really great way, so we should really be calling it STEAM, a great way of engaging most students that normally find science, technology, engineering, and mathematics a little bit alien to them and a little bit difficult for them to, as a concept to grasp, and to stop that alienation and engage with them. So we have some really great little videos. I think we've produced 9 of them so far this summer, and we're currently working on a middle school science lesson that will be going out later this month.
Okay, well, so I kind of talked about that overview of the opportunity with respect to New Mexico, but I'd like to have Colonel Eric Felt and Peter Wagner just give some last comments on what you think we need to do here in New Mexico just to really take advantage of this big opportunity. So I'd love to hear from you.
Well, first of all, I think we're doing a lot of the really great things, and Casey already highlighted them. And I do think New Mexico is a great place for space and a great place to be a startup in space. And we've got a lot of resources here, and we're really doing well in a lot of fronts. I think the areas, the number one area that still needs some work is K through 12 education and quality, and that's been highlighted by Air Force reports. And when I talk to my workforce, that's the number one thing. So if we want to do some more, we need to work on the quality of K through 12 education, but we already have a ton of great things going on. And at Air Force Research Lab, we're still just interested in partnering with a lot of the small companies to help make you successful and make our facilities open to you. And as we build out the EUL and the other initiatives that are underway, I think it'll get even better in terms of our opportunities for collaboration. So again, I think we're on a good path, and I think we just need to recognize this opportunity and seize it and run with it, and the great things will happen here in New Mexico and in our nation for space in this second space age.
Thank you.
Casey, I would just, I think, reinforce the points that you made earlier, that when you are starting a business, you really need a couple of key ingredients. You need key intellectual property, intellectual capital that you're building that business around. You need capital investment, investment capital to grow that business, and you need workforce, and you need customers. Those are really the 4 key ingredients to building a business and growing it. And I think the work that you're doing with New Space New Mexico is touching all of those in a very important way. And I think in the last couple of years, I think there's been a really significant growth in focus in that area and putting energy into each one of those 4 critical pieces. You know, the one thing I think is great about New Mexico is that there are thousands of people who wake up every day in this state and think about space, and they are deep experts in this domain, whether they're at one of the national labs, Sandia, Los Alamos in the state, or work for Colonel Felt and his team. But there are thousands of those people here, and that's a pretty unique resource. And I think that's a resource that the state can really mine, if you will, to continue to grow this industry.
That's great. I think Peter, and I'll put it myself, if you all can add your emails in the chat in case anyone wants to reach out to you. Thank you for presenting. If there's any last comments, please let me know. I'm putting my my email in here so you guys can get a hold of me. It's Casey@newspacenm.org. And I just really appreciate all of you being here. And I think that's a wrap, right?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks on behalf of the New Mexico Tech Council and on behalf of everybody here. I think I could speak for everybody and thanking the 3 of you so much for sharing your expertise and your insights and your thoughts with us. What a fascinating presentation and really exciting too with some of the other initiatives we have around job training to see this pipeline of technical training and how this can really facilitate New Mexico's position in the space game. So many thanks to the 3 of you. Really appreciate it.
And beyond, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. It was a real pleasure to hear from you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Peter. Thank
All
you
right.
for your help.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day. I concur, Mary. Outstanding presentation. So thanks again.